Apple TV is coming, but not alone this time. This time, it may come with Siri AI and Apple Intelligence. That is why Apple did not show it at WWDC. Because WWDC was not the right moment for Apple TV hardware. Apple's main focus was Siri AI, Apple Intelligence, and software. But now the next big chance is Apple's September event. Why? Because September is all about iPhone, Siri AI, and Apple's next big ecosystem push. And Apple TV fits perfectly here. A new Apple TV with old Siri would feel boring. But a new Apple TV with smarter Siri, better movie search, smart home control, and Apple Intelligence, that sounds like a real upgrade. So maybe Apple TV was not canceled. Maybe it was delayed because Apple wants to launch it with a brain. And honestly, that makes a lot of sense. Because Apple TV fans were waiting for something big at WWDC. New box? No. New Siri remote? Apple TV Pro? Also no. Not even a tiny little black box cameo. Apple basically said, here is Siri AI. Here is Apple Intelligence. Now forget the black box for a minute. But maybe that was the whole point. Maybe Apple does not want the next Apple TV to be just another faster black box. Because if Apple launches a new Apple TV and only says, it opens apps faster, most people will say, okay, but my current Apple TV already does that. The current Apple TV experience is already smooth for most users. Apps open fast. Streaming looks great. The interface is clean. Everything feels premium. So the problem is not speed. The problem is intelligence. Apple TV needs to become smarter. It needs to understand what we want to watch. It needs to search better. It needs to control the smart home better. It needs to make Siri useful again. Because let's be real, Siri on TV has not exactly been the superhero Apple promised. Sometimes Siri is helpful, and sometimes Siri feels like it skipped school and came straight to work. You ask for a movie. Siri gives you something from another universe. You say, find me a good thriller. And Siri is like, I found some restaurants near you. Bro, I asked for a movie, not dinner. This is why Siri AI matters so much for Apple TV. The biggest problem with streaming today is not lack of content. The problem is too much content. Netflix, Apple TV+, Disney+, Prime Video, YouTube, Max, sports apps, live TV, movies you saved, shows you forgot, subscriptions you don't even remember paying for. You sit down at 9 p.m. to watch something. At 9:15, you are still scrolling. At 9:30, someone says, just pick anything. At 9:45, everyone is annoyed. At 10 p.m., you give up and rewatch the same show again. Finding something to watch has become a full-time job without salary. This is where Siri AI could actually make Apple TV exciting. Imagine saying, hey Siri, find me a good action movie from the last 5 years. Or hey Siri, show me a thriller like Severance but not too slow. Or hey Siri, find a family movie that adults will not hate. Or hey Siri, find a horror movie, but not the kind that makes me sleep with the lights on. That is what Apple TV needs, not basic voice commands. Real understanding. Because nobody wants to type movie names letter by letter with a remote like it's 2009. The future of Apple TV should be simple. You say what you want. Siri understands the vibe. Apple TV finds the content. That is the upgrade. Not just a new box, a smarter living room experience. And this is where Apple TV search could become the biggest feature. Right now, streaming search is messy. Sometimes you search for a movie and it shows you the wrong version. Sometimes it tells you to rent something that is already included in another app. Sometimes it opens one app, then another app, then another app, and suddenly you are lost in a digital jungle. Siri AI could fix that. Imagine Apple TV understanding searches like show me something funny under 90 minutes. Find a movie like John Wick, but less violent. Show me a new sci-fi show with high ratings. Continue the show I was watching last night. Find something on Apple TV Plus that I haven't watched yet. That would be powerful. Because Apple TV sits in the living room. The TV is not just another screen. It is where families watch together. It is where people relax. It is where streaming, sports, gaming, music, and smart home all meet. If Siri AI becomes good on Apple TV, it could make the whole living room feel smarter. And that is why Apple TV still matters. Now let's zoom out. Apple TV is not just about movies and shows. Apple wants the living room. That means Apple TV could become the center for entertainment. Smart home, FaceTime, AirPlay, Apple Music, Apple Arcade, Apple Fitness Plus, HomeKit, cameras, lights, doorbells, speakers, and Apple services. Now add Siri AI into that. Suddenly, Apple TV becomes more than a streaming box. It becomes an AI smart home hub. Imagine sitting on your couch and saying, hey Siri, dim the lights for movie night. Show me the front door camera. Turn off the kitchen lights. Lower the volume. Pause the movie. Start movie night mode. Play relaxing music after this episode. That is the type of Apple TV experience people actually want. Not just open Netflix. Not just play YouTube. A real smart home brain. And this is where Apple can beat cheap streaming sticks. Because Roku, Google TV, and Fire TV can all stream content, but Apple can connect Apple TV with the full Apple ecosystem: iPhone, AirPods, Apple Watch, HomePod, HomeKit, Play, Apple Music, Apple Fitness Plus, Apple TV Plus, Apple Arcade, and now Siri AI. That ecosystem is Apple's real weapon. So why did Apple not launch a new Apple TV at WWDC? The simple answer could be this: because Apple TV needs Siri AI to feel exciting. A faster chip alone is not enough anymore. If Apple launches a new Apple TV and says, here's the same black box, but faster, people will say, bro, that's it. Apple needs a better story. And Siri AI gives Apple that story. The story becomes, this is not just a streaming box. This is your AI-powered entertainment and smart home hub. That sounds much better. Because Apple does not want Apple TV to be just another HDMI box sitting under your TV. Apple wants it to be part of the future home. And launching a new Apple TV with old Siri would feel weird. That would be like putting a jet engine in a car but keeping bicycle brakes. The next Apple TV needs a smarter assistant. Otherwise, it is just another box. A very smooth box. A very premium box. A very Apple box. But still a box. Now let's compare Apple TV with competitors, because this is where things get interesting. Apple TV is not alone. It has to compete with Roku Ultra, Google TV Streamer, Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K Max, NVIDIA Shield TV, and even built-in smart TV software. Roku is simple. That is Roku's power. People like Roku because it is easy and affordable. You plug it in, open apps, and watch content. No drama. But Roku does not have Apple's ecosystem power. It does not connect with your iPhone like Apple TV. It does not have the same AirPlay experience. It does not work as deeply with HomeKit. It does not have Apple Intelligence. Then there is Google TV. Google TV is dangerous because Google is strong in search, recommendations, YouTube, and AI. And now with Gemini, Google has a clear AI advantage. That should worry Apple. Because if Google TV starts understanding movie searches better than Siri, Apple TV will look premium but not smart. Google TV could say, I understand exactly what you want. And Siri cannot reply, here are web results for chicken nuggets. No, Apple has to fight back. Then we have Amazon Fire TV. Amazon has Alexa, Prime Video, smart home control, and cheaper devices. Fire TV's biggest weapon is price. It gives many people enough features for less money. But the experience can feel crowded, ad-heavy, and less premium. Apple TV feels cleaner. Apple TV feels smoother. Apple TV feels more private. Apple TV fits better if you already use iPhone, AirPods, Apple Watch, HomePod, or iPad. So the simple comparison is this: Roku wins simplicity. Google TV wins AI, search potential, and YouTube power. Fire TV wins price. Apple TV wins premium ecosystem. But Apple has one weak point: Siri. That is why Siri AI is so important. If Apple fixes Siri, Apple TV becomes much harder to beat. Because Apple does not need to win the cheapest streaming device war. Apple rarely wins on price. Apple walks into the room like, yes, I am more expensive. And the real question is, can Apple make Apple TV worth the premium? With Siri AI, the answer could be yes. Because if Apple TV gives you better search, smarter recommendations, cleaner interface, better smart home control, better iPhone connection, better AirPods support, better privacy, better gaming, and better voice control, then it becomes more than a streaming device. It becomes the premium brain of the living room. That is what Roku, Google, and Amazon have to worry about. Apple does not need to sell the cheapest box. Apple needs to sell the smartest living room experience. And Siri AI could be the missing piece. So what could the next Apple TV actually become? Maybe not just Apple TV 4K. Maybe Apple TV AI. Maybe Apple TV Pro. Maybe Apple Smart Home Center. Maybe the device that connects entertainment, AI, and your home. Imagine this. You turn on your TV. Apple TV already knows your family is watching. It suggests family-friendly content. Your AirPods connect instantly. Your lights dim automatically. Your HomePod becomes part of the sound system. Your iPhone becomes the remote. Your Apple Watch controls playback. Your smart camera appears when someone rings the doorbell. Siri understands your real commands. And when you say, find something good to watch, Siri does not panic. Siri actually helps. That is the future Apple should build. Because that would make Apple TV exciting again. Not just faster, smarter, more personal, more connected, more Apple. Now let's talk about the Siri remote. The Siri remote has always been interesting. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Some people lose it every 15 minutes and then act like the couch personally attacked them. But with Siri AI, that remote could become much more important. The Siri button could finally become useful. Right now, for many people, the Siri button is just sitting there like decoration. But if Siri AI becomes powerful, that button becomes the gateway to the whole Apple TV experience. Instead of clicking through menus, you speak. Instead of searching through apps, you ask. Instead of typing like a tired robot, you say what you want. That changes the remote. Less navigation, more conversation. Apple could even improve the remote in the future with better microphones, smarter controls, or more AI-focused features. And honestly, if Siri finally gets smart, the Siri remote could go from, "Why is this button here?" to, "Oh, now I get it." This is also bigger than Apple TV. This is about Apple's AI future. Apple has been under pressure because ChatGPT, Gemini, Alexa, and other AI assistants became part of the AI conversation before Siri felt truly modern. People kept saying Apple is behind, Siri is old, Apple intelligence is slow, Google is ahead, Amazon has Alexa everywhere. That pressure is real. So Siri AI is not just another feature. It is Apple trying to prove that Siri can still matter. And Apple TV could be one of the most important places for that. Why? Because your iPhone is personal, but your TV is shared. The TV is where the whole family interacts with technology. If Siri AI works on Apple TV, it changes how the whole home uses Apple. That is powerful. That is why Apple TV is not dead. It may actually be waiting for its biggest upgrade. Now the big question, should you buy Apple TV now or wait? Here is the simple answer. If you do not have Apple TV and you need a premium streaming device right now, the current Apple TV 4K is still very good. It is fast. It is smooth, it has great picture quality, it works beautifully with iPhone, it supports AirPlay, it fits perfectly in the Apple ecosystem. But if you already own Apple TV 4K, waiting makes more sense. Because the next Apple TV may not just be faster, it may be smarter. And if Siri AI becomes a real part of Apple TV, then that is the upgrade worth waiting for. So the buying advice is simple. Need one now? Buy. Already have one? Wait. Care about Siri AI, Apple Intelligence, HomeKit, Smart Home, and future Apple ecosystem features? Definitely wait. Your wallet deserves peace. Don't panic buy unless your current device is suffering. So here is the final verdict. Apple TV is not dead. Apple just did not give it the WWDC moment people expected. But Siri AI could be the reason Apple TV finally feels new again. Because the next big Apple TV upgrade may not be the box. It may be the brain. A smarter Siri could change how we search movies, control apps, use HomeKit, manage smart home devices, and interact with the Apple ecosystem from the living room. Compared to Roku, Google TV, and Fire TV, Apple TV already has the premium ecosystem advantage. But now Apple needs to fix the one thing everyone complains about, Siri. If Siri AI works properly, Apple TV could become more than just a streaming device. It could become Apple's AI-powered living room hub. So yes, Apple TV fans did not get new hardware at WWDC. But maybe Apple is waiting for the real upgrade. Not a new black box, a smarter Apple TV. And honestly, that is the upgrade we have been waiting for. So now I want to know your opinion. Do you think Siri AI can finally make Apple TV exciting again? Or do you think Apple is taking too long while Roku, Google, and Amazon keep moving forward? Comment what you think. Are you waiting for the next Apple TV? Or do you think the current Apple TV 4K is still enough? And if you want more Apple TV, Siri AI, Apple Intelligence, Apple ecosystem, and smart home updates, make sure to subscribe. Because Apple TV may be quiet right now, but the living room war is just getting started.